America, and all of you who may be listening not only in America, but also in the world. That's what we talk about. It is July 21st, 2022. The new WCEG network welcomes you. This program is Mrs. Damita Chatman's Take a Stand, and your WCEG hosts today are the illustrious Reverend Joe Flint, Mrs. Damita Chatman, also known as Mrs. South Fulton, and me, Norman A. Carter Jr. Now, on your computer or smartphone, you can view or hear us by typing in WCEGtalkradio.com in your browser. Then hit enter, and on the next screen, click the live stream tab. On your smart TV, just click the YouTube icon and search for WCEG Network. Now, WCEG stands for Worldwide Community Empowerment Group. Our programming goal is to leave you more informed and more empowered than you were before you tuned in. Our motto, we speak life into the community. You may like us on Facebook and view us live and send in your questions also, or follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at WCEG_talk_radio and at WCEG Network. Now, I got to inform you, the topics and opinions on Take a Stand are those of our host and our guests, and not the WCEG Network. So leave my boss alone. This is our show. These are our words and the words of our guests. Our opinions are our own. So open your ears, open your minds, and get ready to learn. Please take notes and watch replays of the program on YouTube at any time. If you are watching on Facebook or Twitter, please send us your questions and comments. Now, today's program is an evening with the commissioners. We have two, waiting for one more. It's a digital open house, so we want your participation, folks. We are joined today and will be joined by Mr. Marvin S. Arrington, who will be joining us shortly. He is both a renowned barrister and commissioner of Fulton County's
Did he freeze?
Yes.
He did.
Go ahead.
Okay, we can go on. I want to thank Commissioner Marvin Arrington for getting on, and Commissioner Pitts. Mr. Norman had he know how to do it, but I'm just going to keep it simple because I can't do it like that. I want to thank Commissioner Pitts for coming on, the chairman of Fulton County, and Commissioner Marvin Arrington of District 5. We're here to ask the questions, get answers to questions, and it's unscripted. We are not going to bash you. We're here to just bring information to the community. Thank you so much. Mr. Carter, you back on?
Hope so. Can you?
Okay, there you go.
Okay.
I
didn't know.
I got a script, commissioners. They telling you I got one. I'm just.
Well, I can go introduce myself and then we go. My name is Damita Chatman. I'm with Take a Stand. I also have an organization, Citizens for Excellence in Elected Leaders, and I'm no stranger to the guests. Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having us. Happy to be here.
Likewise.
Thank you.
You are no stranger.
Joe, you want to go on and introduce yourself?
Well, good evening, gentlemen. It's been a long time since I've had a face-to-face with both of you all, but good to see you here on the screen with us. Thank you for joining us. Again, I am Joe Flint, host of the People's Choice here on WCEG Talk Radio, the Worldwide Community Empowerment Group, and also the pastor of New Hope Baptist Church out in a little old town called Whitesburg, Georgia, just a little south of Douglasville.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, I think we're all on visual. I'm not frozen anymore. Okay.
You want to tell us about yourself, Mr. Norm, and then we go into the commissioners?
Yeah. Well, don't like to talk about myself. I really don't. But some of you may know I'm the usual host for one of the hosts for Issues and Answers on the WCEG network. And I'm all kinds of retired from the police department, from the hospitality industry, but I'm on so much other stuff right now. It'll take us an hour to talk about it. But glad to be here, and certainly glad to be among the illustrious guests that we have here today.
Thank you. Commissioner Chairman Pitts, you want to tell us a little something, and then we go to Commissioner.
Would you repeat that?
We want to get Commissioner Pitts. I think I done lost him. So I don't see your picture, but it's okay. Are you there?
Yeah, he's still here. He's still here.
Tell us a little, Commissioner Chairman.
About myself?
Yes, just give us a few minutes.
How much time do
you got 1 minute.
Oh, well, well, very briefly, I'm a native Georgian, born in the country, Jones County, grew up in Haddock, Georgia. I always say you have to be from there to know where it is. Then I moved to Ohio, Dayton, Ohio. My mother moved north to work like a lot of Black people did during that time. And after, I think I was in the 5th grade, I moved from Jones County up to Dayton, Ohio, graduated high school there, elementary school, high school, attended the university, Ohio University, and then went to school in Mexico, 2 different schools, back to Kent State University, where I began my professional career as a university professor. Then I moved back to Georgia for the first time in Atlanta, where a lot of people don't remember this, but I was actually a professor for 3 years at Clark College, now Clark Atlanta University. I was my area was Latin American Studies, Spanish language, literature, history, and culture. Worked there for, like I said, 3 years, and then I went to work for the Atlanta Chamber of Commerce. The Chamber of Commerce at that time did not have an international department, so I, along with a gentleman who had retired from Lockheed, Jim Wilkerson, he and I were the international department for the Atlanta Chamber. And after that, I worked for Central Atlanta Progress, which was a very high-powered downtown organization that focused solely and exclusively on downtown. Then I went into business for myself, had a successful contracting company, did a lot of business in the steel, reinforcing steel and structural steel. Did a lot of work on the original MARTA line, but when I was elected to the city council, the then general manager made a ruling that I could not do business with MARTA while being on the city council. So I had to make a decision. Since I had a passion for public service, I chose public service over, making a ton of money, which I was doing quite well at the time. Then I also had a successful career, which I retired in insurance and financial planning. From a political point of view, served on the Atlanta City Council for many, many years. In fact, my seatmate was Marvin Arrington Sr., and I learned a lot from Marvin Arrington Sr., the good and the bad. He would tell me everything about what was going on, stuff that you could talk about, stuff that you couldn't talk about, but I owe a debt of gratitude to Marvin Arrington Sr. And then 2001, if those who were around know that I ran for mayor. My main opponent at the time was Shirley Franklin, and I lost to Shirley Franklin by 118 votes. We were friends before that race. We were friends during the race and have been friends since then. So the reason I make that point is politics doesn't have to be nasty, but it's becoming that way now. So it's a classic example where Shirley and I, once again, we were friends before we ran against each other, during the campaign and after the campaign. So I was actually out of politics for 1 year. Then an opening came up at Fulton County, and people were saying you have too much knowledge, too much experience to be sitting on the sidelines. And I agreed. Then I ran for a seat on the Fulton County Commission and won that. And I served for 12 years, and then became chair, 7 years ago. And so got reelected I did the math at our last council meeting. I have 103 more regular meetings of the Board of Commissioners of Fulton County.
All right, thank you so much.
10 more in this term, 10 more in this term, and 93 in the new term, regular meetings now. So
Okay.
110. Is that right? 110, 103.
All right. Well, look. This is my joke. I'm gonna wait. I don't want the whole obituary. Thank you. It was great.
But speaking of obituary, I'm going back to Jones County, down in the red clay of Jones County. I already got my spot. My grandmother bought it.
Well, look, Commissioner, you say you went to Dayton, Ohio, and I'm from Lima, Ohio. We'll talk about that later. Come on, Marvin, Commissioner Marvin Arrington. Give us that, and I don't want you to come all the way from the cradle.
Thank you for having me again. Thank you to the host, and certainly to Chairman Pitts. My name is Marvin Arrington Jr., Commissioner for Fulton County District 5. Excited to be here today. Honored to have the opportunity to serve the residents of Fulton County. I am a native Atlanta, attended Douglas High School, the University of Virginia undergrad, Emory for law school, and began my practice of law after graduating law school in 1996. And practiced from 1996 and continue to practice to this day. And in 2014, I decided to run for county commissioner after losing a race in 2012 for state representative. God is so good. He knew where to put me and where to place me and how to order my steps. And so I'm so thankful for that. And I've been serving the residents of Fulton County since 2014. And so I guess I'll leave it there. I will add one thing.
Come on.
It has been a pleasure to work with Chairman Pitts and to see his leadership skills and to learn. And I consider him a mentor and a friend. And so it is an honor to have that opportunity. Last thing I'll say, my grandmother was a maid, and she came home one day and told my dad, "You're going to be a lawyer." And so as a result, we had 7 lawyers in the family.
What a blessing!
Wow.
What a blessing! And thank Chairman Pitts, and Commissioner Arrington. I'm gonna tell you, when I first moved to Georgia, I did not know that judge was your father. And I like the way he did things. I would watch him, and if you remember, he had a group of boys in the courtroom.
Mm-hmm.
And I mean, he went old school. And so you got a great father. I want to thank you guys for coming.
We need more judges like his father.
That's gonna be another show. Yeah. And we'll talk about that on another show. We got some questions that came in, and the first question that I'm going to tackle with the chairman and commissioner, because 3 years ago I brought this to the commissioners, and some of my co-workers brought it to you guys. And right now, if you know, UPS is on Fulton Industrial. And every year during our peak season, around about September, when we go into peak season, we have people getting killed every year there because of there's no street lights and crosswalk. So this is one of the questions that one of the people asked me to say. We would like to see changes made on the corner of FIB and Marvin Miller. We need some signage there, maybe some speed bumps, and we need help from the police and MARTA. And during the peak season, if you can't get, I know you can't get that done now because it got to go through GDOT and got to go through the city of South Fulton and got to go through all the changes. If you can get maybe a cop or something out there So we won't have another kid get killed trying to cross over that busy intersection to catch MARTA. And they don't know how fast those trucks be traveling. And they're running against those trucks. And so I think the last fatality we had there was a young man that had just graduated from, I think, Benjamin Mays, 18 years old, only worked there 3 days. Mother sent him to work and he ran across the street and got killed. So what can we do about that, Commissioner and Chairman, to get something there off of Marvin Miller?
Commissioner, you want to take that or you want me to take it?
You're
Unmute.
muted.
Unmute.
Oh, yeah, I can certainly take a stab. Thank you. So Marvin Miller is right there where the UPS and the police station
Yes.
are.
Yes.
So again, as you stated, Fulton Industrial is a state route. So that would be governed by GDOT, but certainly we can reach out to them. We've had some good success by working with Representative William Bodie and others as far as getting GDOT response. They are more responsive to state reps than they are to county commissioners, but just because of the government systems. But certainly we can work with them. I think it, should not be too much of a heavy lift to try to get some type of crosswalk or something like that there. But again, GDOT would be the final determinant, and that land, as you stated, is in the city of South Fulton, right? And everything
Yes.
below 20 is in the city of South Fulton.
Correct.
And you're right, there probably would have to be some coordination between GDOT and the city of South Fulton. But certainly as the county, we can try to help facilitate and or assist in getting that done.
Damita, can I join in with this? And this question,
yes,
of course, for either of the commissioners. When we speak of Commissioner Arrington, you kind of mentioned, whose jurisdiction that is. But I have seen, and I've seen it more recently in the at the Fulton Clayton line, but I know it happens there as well. If an accident or something happens in that little area there or along that corridor, and you dial 911, quite often you're switched over to 2, maybe even 3 different dispatches trying to get the correct officer out into that area. So how can, because this is not just, a Fulton County issue, this is a statewide issue really, but how can at least the county of Fulton manage that call as opposed to being for an emergency, someone being passed over from Fulton County to South Fulton to Atlanta to whoever else, may be in that area? How can we streamline that so people are not being passed around and trying to deal with the emergency?
So we do have Fulton County E911, and the chair may want to address this as well, but we do have Fulton County E911, but the cities have to opt into the service. It is something that they are charged for. And so we do have multiple jurisdictions that are in there. It would be better if we had all jurisdictions inside of Fulton County in there. I don't know that would help if someone was being dispatched to Clayton or, Cobb or, another county, but it would be better to have it all streamlined. We do have Fulton County E911 operations, and we do operate E911 for several cities in South Fulton. So, but again, it's something that the citizens would have to ask their city government to opt into.
So let me make sure I understand. So opting into it, and I'm in that area, God forbid, but if something happens and I'm having to call to 911, Chairman Pitts or Commissioner Arrington, and I believe at the moment I'm thinking I'm in the city of South Fulton. I call 911. I get, city of South Fulton police, and they say, well, I'll say I'm at the corner of, what is it? What was the road again? Miller and
Marvin Miller, FIB.
Right. And they'll say, I'm not saying this has happened, but I have seen this happen. they'll say, well, that's Fulton County. Let's dispatch you over to Fulton County. And Fulton County says, no, that belongs to Atlanta. Let's dispatch you to Atlanta. How do we, and I heard you saying they have to buy into that, but how, is that a citizen issue that they have to push the city to do that so that somebody comes to respond? Or is that just a matter of people not wanting to overstep jurisdictions? I guess that's my question. Who is responsible for the area?
So inside of the cities are responsible for that area.
Okay.
And so the county has it available. I won't say it's necessarily as easy as just opting in. There's an expense and a cost,
of course,
that is associated with that. And so they have to be willing to share in that cost. And I'll let Chairman Pitts address it as well, but there is a cost. It's not just people not wanting to do it. Atlanta has their own 911 center. And so because of the size of that city, they have their own 911 center. Unfortunately, I cannot name you the cities that are opted in, but perhaps the chairman can, or we can provide that information in a follow-up.
Right.
Yeah, I think you can, because what you're addressing though is a problem.
Yes.
What I would say interjurisdictional problem, and that based upon the number of cities and the county and how we work together or how we do not work together in some cases. What the situation that you described has happened, and it can happen, and it probably will happen again. But what I do know though is that we are aware of it, and that our people are working, and we're even now talking about buying new equipment so that we would all be using the same equipment in some of these situations to try to cut down on the types of situations that you're describing now. So I just say, stay tuned, because it is a problem. It can be a serious problem, but we are aware of it. And I think the money that we're talking about putting in place on new communications equipment is going to go a long ways from a public safety point of view of alleviating that problem, at least minimizing the problem. We're never going to totally eradicate the problem, but we can certainly.
I wanted to chime in, if I can, if you can hear me on this, based on my experience as a police officer. And I can imagine what it's like for a citizen to be standing there waiting, and then we're going back and forth about who is responsible on the phone. So what we need is a regional policy where whoever gets the call responds. And if it's on another jurisdiction, at that time, the responder would say, oh, this is in whatever county. They need to, I'm going to stay here till you can get someone else here.
That would make sense.
But somebody gets there, because in the meantime, the citizen is waiting. And none of us should be about letting the citizens wait. So we can establish a regional policy where the first person who gets the call responds, and then we can take care of jurisdictional problems after that.
Right. Well, that's a good point, and I'll pass that on, because the reason I say that's a good point when you talk about regional. When I say regional, I'm talking about the big 5 counties. That's Fulton, DeKalb, Clayton, and Gwinnett, the 5 of us. I convene a meeting. We meet quarterly, the 5 of us. And by the way, we're all Black, 3 males and 2 females. We meet quarterly. And this is unique in the United States of America. The 5 of us, we represent almost 40% of the population of the state of Georgia. The reason I thought it was important for us to get together is because, just as you point out, there are regional issues that come up from time to time. So, in fact, we meet again the first Friday in August, and I'll put this on our agenda about the situation that you just described, because again, that can happen and it does happen. So, thank you for bringing that up.
Yeah, and certainly. You're absolutely right. Citizens don't care who responds. They just want a response, right?
Yeah.
The jurisdictional lines are imaginary, right? Those lines are imaginary lines.
Right. So, they don't see it in Atlanta. They see a policeman, and that's who they're looking for to come out, or fire rescue, whoever it is. That's who they're looking for to come out to support that. And to
your point, whoever gets there first,
nobody cares about the jurisdiction.
Whoever gets there first needs to take charge. I'm just reminded of the fiasco where was it, in Texas, where you had 200 plus officers there and nobody's in charge.
Right.
You know the situation
Right.
I'm talking about. So
That's
Right.
another show right there, Commissioner.
yeah.
Mhm. Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Norm, you want to ask a question? You want to go on with a question?
Yeah. This is probably I don't know whether you can comment on that, commissioners, but are either of you aware of House Bill 91 dealing with the diploma petition form?
What is it?
House Bill 91. And what that is, and I just want to throw some good news out there for our listeners, is that it's about students who are no longer enrolled in Georgia public schools and who previously failed to receive a high school diploma in this state due solely to failing one of two basic skills tests, where they can now petition the local board of education and receive a diploma. And I think that that's exceptionally important because those of you who know me, one of the questions I pose to almost every government representative in this Metro Atlanta is my dissatisfaction with the fact that no one has sued the Atlanta public school system or the government about this scandal that happened years ago where 4,000 of our children were disenfranchised because the school system employees, including led by the school superintendent, got involved in this scandal where getting money and getting position was more important than educating our kids. And some of these people are going to go to jail. But I think that this is an important program, and I just wanted to get your feelings on that. If you
that was signed by a deal, if I remember correctly.
Could have been, yes.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it makes sense.
Right.
Exactly. Penalize these students just for, the way you described it. I certainly wouldn't want to penalize them, but also there could also, though, you don't want a free ride. Let me be clear about that.
Correct. Yes, exactly.
If someone is missing, one or two classes, there are any number of ways, GED, online, et cetera, to make up those whatever classes they're missing in order to earn that diploma. Because
I think this had to do.
Go ahead.
I think this had something to do with they found discrepancies or problems with those tests that were given out, those standardized tests. And because the children failed those standardized tests, they weren't able to get a diploma. So this is.
I do recall that. It did have something
right.
to do with tests. That's
right.
correct.
Thank you. Before we go to a question that Mr. Flint would ask, somebody sent a question in. Speaking of costs in cities buying into the emergency system, how does the funding work for each city and how is it allocated? Chairman Pitts.
How to say that again?
Speaking of the costs and the cities buying into the emergency system, how does the funding work for each city and how is the money allocated?
Okay, now I don't know how my guess though it would be on a population basis is my guess, but I'm not sure about that. I can check. Commissioner Arrington, you may know. I don't know the answer to exactly what the cost is per city, but I would further though assume that whatever money comes in though would be used to support the operation in its entirety.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm not sure of the amount that are charged per city, but we could certainly get that information and provide it to you.
Thank you.
And I'm taking notes on the questions that you're asking that will require some more specific answers and information for you.
Thank you. Joe, before you ask the question, so they can kind of ponder.
Oh, yeah.
We want to hear, because see, some people don't understand the city and the county, the role of the county, the role of the cities.
Right.
I'm gonna throw one thing out to you. I've noticed in the city of South Fulton, and it has been happening now for maybe about 2, maybe 3 years. If you go down Fulton Industrial right now, you have homeless people sleeping in bus stops, wheelchairs, people with no legs. And I remember back here doing an event, a busload of folks was dropped off at Walmart in Union City. What are you doing to get a hold of that, the panhandling? Where are these people staying? Because it's nothing out here. So somebody had to bring them out here. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So what are you guys doing to address that problem?
Well,
Because
you asked a couple of questions there, or two
yes,
or three or more questions in that one, beginning with people not understanding the role of county government and the role of city government. Let me
right.
start with that. And Commissioner, you can sort of if I miss anything, just feel free to chime in. But there are pretty much four basic responsibilities that Fulton County has based upon the state constitution of Georgia. And they are as follows in broad and general terms. Number one, health and human services. That means anything dealing with, Grady Hospital, senior citizens, young people, things of that nature, health and human services. The criminal justice system will be number two. That's public safety. Sheriff, courts, jail, all of those things that you consider to be a part of public safety. The library system, that's a county responsibility. We want to talk about that in some detail, the great job that I think where we're modeling nationally for what we've done with our libraries. Animal control is another one. Although the Constitution only speaks to rabies control, through the years, Fulton County has, I guess, become the caretaker of all things dealing with animals. So that's one that's really important. In fact, you may know that our new animal shelter is going to be in South Fulton County, right across the street from our airport. It's going to be a state-of-the-art, one-of-a-kind, best in the country. Now, there's a lot of controversy about that, but the reality of that is about 80% of the residents of Fulton County, the 1,200,000 people who call Fulton County, it's actually more than that, but I'm dealing with the census now. But about 80% have at least one animal. So animals are important to residents of Fulton County. So therefore, I supported it. It was the right thing to do. So that animal shelter is going there. The other thing that we do, we appraise property, which is huge for us. We collect taxes. We run or conduct elections throughout the county. Now, and for some cities. Now, those are pretty much county responsibilities. Now, contrast those responsibilities with what cities do. In fact, some people in office in county government or city government, they just decide to run for whatever seat is open, as opposed to thinking about what their real interests are. Because county government, we're dealing with more policy than day-to-day stuff. Now, let me talk about what I mean when I say that. City government, for example, City of Atlanta, City of South Fulton, police services. When you call a police officer, that's going to be a city police officer. Fire services, parks and recreation, zoning, land use, all of that city stuff, that compared to those things that I talked about for the county. So hopefully that helps a little bit. I can go into even more detail. Now, on the question of homelessness, there were about 4,000 homeless people in Fulton County, 4,000. The city of Atlanta is responsible for homeless people within the corporate limits of the city of Atlanta, and that's some 2,000 plus, maybe close to 3,000. The rest of that crowd is spread out throughout Fulton County and becomes the county's responsibility. Now, even though the bulk of the homeless people in our county are within the city of Atlanta and the city's responsibility, we at the county, though, we provide support services, and we spend quite a bit of money working with our social services agencies to address this homeless problem. But again, It is the bulk of them are within the city limits of Atlanta. The outside of the city limits of Atlanta, it becomes responsibility of the county.
Thank you. Okay, Joe and Mr. Norm.
Oh, well, this is gave you a softball. This is something that's very close to me because, as I mentioned before, my background is in law enforcement. One of the things that I was astounded and happy to find out is that checking the uniform crime report, that Fulton County is there. Put it this way, the other way around. I'll word it. There are 42 counties in the state of Georgia that have a worse record on crime than Fulton County. That was something I didn't know. That was amazing to me. But yet and still, and I talk about Atlanta. Atlanta is only safer than 5% of the U.S. cities. And I'll tell you why this is important to me. And I'll try to do it real quick. Several years ago, I was responsible for unveiling a scandal that affected not only my home city of Philadelphia, but also Atlanta and Houston, where police departments were consistently falsifying crime statistics to lower the crime rate. But what happens when you falsify crime statistics, there is a less need for police officers. So departments were cut down. So now we have a situation where crime is rampant in these cities. So in light of the defund the police movement, where I say that the people who were in the defund the police movement were complicit in the murder of 8-year-old Securia Turner on July 4th of 2020. That was because a mayoral decision was made to remove police officers from patrol in a certain area, and armed thugs took over. And this is what defunding the police actually looks like in practice. So not just metropolitan Atlanta, but across the country, staffing levels under the police department in police departments are woefully low. So do we have an active recruiting campaign for police officers in Fulton County to secure adequate policing to protect our citizens?
Well, I'll start with that. After the incorporations that took place in Fulton County, our police force we only have about 38 officers. It may be 35, maybe 39, depending on the day, because public safety policing, what I just said, that's a city responsibility.
Okay.
So that's all we have now. And what do those 35 or plus, let's say under 40 officers do who are still police officers, not marshals and not sheriffs? Well, we use them at our airport, and we use them for protecting all of the county-owned property. That's what our officers do.
Okay.
So but when you see our officers, that's what they're doing. And we only have, it's less than 40, and the number fluctuates on a daily basis.
But we
also always have an active recruiting effort underway, because to your point, every jurisdiction, state government, GBI, FBI, CIA, sheriff, marshal, everybody has a problem. Nobody wants these jobs anymore. I mean, who can blame them? Now, but what we are doing, and I think there's a huge recruiting effort being undertaken today and tomorrow over the weekend by the city of Atlanta, advertising campaigns, salaries, signing, but you think you're talking about professional athletes, but these are police officers. I mean, I'm talking $5,000, $10,000 bonuses that various jurisdictions are offering, because it's very difficult. And the problem becomes in where, if let's say we raise our police officers' salaries in Fulton County by $5,000, let's say $50,000, then the city of South Fulton says, we're going to raise you $5,000. Then there's $5,000 more than ours. So right. Then we'll come back with another $5,000. So it's really, that's what we're faced with nowadays. And so this has to stop at some point. And to the extent, now remember I said earlier, talked about the big five, the 5 counties here. And Commissioner Arrington, you got to help me out. Now I want to get in trouble with violating any federal laws here. But one of the things that I brought up to our group the chairs of these 5 commissions, because even the sheriff's officers in these jurisdictions, the same thing is happening. We will steal from Cobb or Gwinnett, and they'll steal from Fulton. When I say steal, they'll offer a bonus, a signing bonus, and an officer. They're not loyal. They want as much money as they can get, and the market is right for them to do that now. But what we're gonna be talking about though is there a way for the 5 of us, without running afoul of any federal laws, to come up with a regional salary scale for police officers, for sheriffs, for marshals? And if we are able to do that, then theoretically, this us bidding against the city of South Fulton or us bidding against Clayton County, Cobb County, that will be minimized or reduced. So that's a huge problem that you pointed out, but it's not unique to Fulton County. It's not unique to the city of South Fulton. It's not unique to any police department nationwide. It's just a huge problem right now. Commissioner,
Thank you.
agree?
Thanks.
So my question, gentlemen, and Chairman Pitts, you brought up the areas for which the counties differ from the city.
Yes, sir.
One of the ones that you brought up, it's near and dear to my heart, because I host the People's Choice, which is a political show here on WCEG. And gentlemen, this is no shade, no eclipse or anything like that, but we know, we have seen more often than never, when the election season comes around here in the state of Georgia, quite often we're waiting on Fulton County to return the numbers. Fulton County is always sometimes the last one. Even there have been times that people have laughed at Fulton County because they have said that Fulton County just can't seem to get it together. Now, I know better than that, because we have Chairman Pitts and we have Marvin Arrington Jr. serving on Fulton County Commission. But how can we ensure that Fulton County is not a part of this issue, this ongoing issue that has been for my lifetime? I've seen it. And although I look 21, gentlemen, I assure you that I'm far from it.
That's a great question. I think that we have made tremendous strides in improving the efficiency of our elections operation, right? But it is run by human beings.
Yeah.
It is staffed by volunteers and hourly workers. And so as humans, we are going to make mistakes. The individual staff members are going to make mistakes. But I think we also have to be mindful that Fulton County is the largest and the most populous county in the state of Georgia. So it would make sense that it might take longer to count more votes. It would also make sense, we have the largest or the longest county. What's how many miles wide is it, Chairman Pitts? 70 and 90 miles wide?
72 miles long.
72 miles long. And so you're talking about taking ballots and ballot boxes from North Fulton and Milton and from South Fulton and having them in one centralized location to count them. So it makes sense that it takes longer. I think there have been some challenges along the way, but I think that since Chairman Pitts and I have been in office, that it has gotten better. In fact, I know that it has gotten better. We've had great partnerships with people like the Hawks and the State Farm Arena and Mercedes-Benz Dome, and are doing elections at mega sites and Georgia International Convention Center, and now we've been hit with SB 220, which limits a lot of the early voting and a lot of other things that we were able to do. So, the more early voting we have available, I think they cut us down from 3 weeks to 2 weeks of early voting, right? They cut down the number of drop boxes. Well, all of that stuff makes it a lot easier on election day. The other thing is the way that the law is in Georgia, you cannot begin counting any ballots, not even early voting ballots from 3 or 2 weeks ago, until the election is over at 7 p.m.
Right.
And so you have to wait until 7 p.m. to start counting. And certainly all of the other counties have to do that same thing. So I don't want it to appear that I am trying to make an excuse for anything. But again, we do have the longest county in the state. We have the most populous county in the state. And I think that our staff does a great job. Certainly there have been challenges in the past, and I think that we've addressed those. We have a new interim elections director, and we just had an election in May that again has some challenges. I wasn't even on my own ballot, right? Certainly, if there was something that I could have done about that, I would have made sure that I was on my own ballot, right?
It didn't affect you, Representative Commissioner Arrington. It didn't affect you at all.
Well, a lot of these things, we rely on getting data from the state and the Secretary of State. There's a lot of interplay, and so we do the best we can. They do the best they can. I think it's about having a good manager and having good staff. And I think we have the best county manager in the world, and I think we have the best staff in the world. And I believe in our Fulton County employees, and I know that Chairman Pitts does as well.
Commissioner Arrington, I appreciate, Chairman Pitts, I'm sorry, but I appreciate that candid response. And really, because I think that's just what people want to hear. They want to know, because the media will have you to believe that Fulton County just has no idea what they're doing when it comes time for elections. But to hear it from the commissioners themselves lets the citizen know, or reassures them that when they cast a ballot or their vote, the information is being taken care of. The chain of custody is making its way as it should. It may take a little longer because of the size of the county, but the work is being done, and that's what's important for the citizens to know. Yes,
that's true. Commissioner, you did a great job of explaining that. I really can't add anything to that, but I just want to let the voters know that every legal vote is going to be counted. And that Senate Bill 202 did cause us some problems, but in spite of that, not problems, some hurdles that we had to overcome. But in spite of all that, we really ran almost a flawless election on May 24th. And I'm optimistic under the leadership of our interim director, Nadine Williams, that the November elections are going to be smooth as well.
Could I chime in with one question on that? And that is, I guess the big elephant in the room is the January 6th hearings that are going on. And I know that two of your people were sitting right front and center at these hearings due to being harassed by the former president of the United States. So I know that you're carrying on a hiring campaign now for election workers. Has that made it more difficult? And do you have a feel of the morale in the for your poll workers at the present time?
I wouldn't say that it's made it more difficult. We've increased the pay for the workers. Now, what has though impacted us is hiring a permanent elections director because of all of the scrutiny that our former director Richard Barron endured, and the threats on his life, the threats on his child's life, and the two workers that you talked about. They received threats, and then on a personal level, I mean, you wouldn't believe. I mean, I had to have personal security myself because all of the stuff that they were talking about that happened at State Farm Arena was just pure BS, because I was there that night firsthand. I felt it was my responsibility as chair to be there, and I was there, so I knew that that's when I told them to put up or shut up. I'm tired of hearing about all this stuff from President Trump to, well, Pence wasn't so much involved in it, but our Secretary of State on down the line. And to this date, no one has come forward with any credible evidence about any wrongdoing. And I can tell you, we had time about everything that happened, but all of this is going to come out. Bottom line is, I think our election, I know that we ran a very efficient election, and they're going to be efficient in November as well.
Very good.
Thank you. We have some questions from Facebook that's sending out, but we're gonna get down to the real nitty gritty, as I call it. Let's talk about Wolf Creek Amphitheater. People is saying why are we not having concerts. I sent some questions in to the commissioners, and I want to thank Commissioner Marvin Arrington and Chairman Pitts for getting back with me on those questions. When we became a city, the city of South Fulton had to go through a lot of stuff to get some stuff. And I know when Sandy Springs and others, they didn't have to go through the hoops that we did. What can you tell us about Wolf Creek coming to the city of South Fulton?
So thank you so much for that question. Let me one start out by dispelling the underlying premise of the question. The northern cities had so much trouble getting stuff from Fulton County that they had to go to the state legislature to get the laws changed, because Emma Darnell and Bill Edwards made sure they didn't get anything. They had to go to the state legislature to get the fire stations, the police stations, the parks, because Fulton County was not giving that to Sandy Springs and Milton and those other cities, okay? So let's just, number one, start out by dispelling the rumor. What actually happened, city of South Fulton got more than those northern cities because there was no unincorporated or very little unincorporated area left. So when those northern cities formed, Fulton County needed to make sure that it still had the resources to serve the southern cities, police vehicles, all of those things. So the idea that city of South Fulton got less, it is not based in reality. Number one, city of South Fulton did not have to go to the state legislature to get the laws changed in order to get fire stations, police stations, parks, and things of the like. As it relates to Wolf Creek, the city of South Fulton has hosted most recently a Juneteenth event there. The city of South Fulton hosted its 5th year anniversary there. They also hosted most recently a Divine Nine HBCU walk race. And so the city of South Fulton, while there has been some delay in the formal transfer of the deeds, the city of South Fulton has full access to the Wolf Creek Amphitheater to do and host whichever events they want to. And they have chosen at least 3 events this year that they wanted to host there. The county has not put up any obstacles to the city of South Fulton hosting any events there. And hopefully they will continue to host events there as they so choose. And so,
Commissioner Arrington, I agree with you and thank you, because I always say the truth will only go to the corner, but a lie go all the way around. So thank you. Keep it. Come on, tell the truth. You're absolutely telling the truth about the late former Emma Darnell and when Bill Edwards was the commissioner. Come on, keep on.
Well, yeah, look, they did it so bad the state legislature made them run against each other, right? That's absolutely how bad.
Yeah.
That's how bad they treated the northern cities when they incorporated it. Commissioner Hausman would tell you they stripped the fire stations down to the white meat. They took the soap dispensers, the toilet roll dispensers out of all those things and left them empty. That type of stuff was not done to the city of South Fulton. But we're helpful. We want to be helpful to the city of South Fulton. The formal transfer of the deeds, it was contemplated on February 20th of 2020 when the IGA between Fulton County and the city of South Fulton was executed. It was contemplated that EPD approval, Environmental Protection Division of the state of Georgia, would be needed. And the reason that the EPD approval is needed, excuse me, is because there are 3 lots out there that the city of South Fulton is purchasing. The EPD has told us that in order to transfer those lots and to avoid the strict liability that is available, that those lots need to be consolidated into 1 lot. And so our county attorney's office and staff is working towards helping the city of South Fulton be able to get the required EPD approval, or to help Fulton County get the approval that it requires, because it doesn't make sense for us to turn it over to the city of South Fulton and then we get fines from the EPD. That's going to hurt not only the residents of Fulton County, but it's also going to hurt the residents of the city of South Fulton.
And I don't want the bill.
And we need to do it in an orderly fashion.
Absolutely.
And that's what the contract calls for.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you so much, Commissioner Arrington, on that. Let me ask you another question. We just came out of some real nasty elections with you guys. And how are you guys working together down there right now at that Fulton County Commissioner? It was a lawsuit. You ain't got to talk about it if you don't want to, but the question's been asked, and I'm going to ask the questions. It was $1 million lawsuit put against Marvin Arrington. Is that lawsuit still in place? Because I hadn't heard nothing. The lawsuit is still in place.
That lawsuit is still in place. I filed an answer and a counterclaim. And it's just funny. It's the difference. You remember that commercial? They say, I'm not a doctor, but I just play one on TV. So there's a difference between going to law school and actually practicing law for 26 years. And those type of suits, and any type of suit like that, you have to send a cease and desist letter first. And if you don't send a cease and desist letter, you're not entitled to any punitive damages. You're only entitled to actual damages. And so the lawsuit is frivolous, but nonetheless, I responded. I filed a counterclaim against the individual that filed it as well.
Okay, thank you.
The second part of your question is how we all working together,
Yes.
And I think that the majority of us have the best interest of the entire county at heart. It doesn't matter where you live in the county. It doesn't matter whether you represent Post 1 or rather District 1 or District 6. That simply means that's how you get elected. But once you take that oath and you raise your right hand, you swear to do what's in the best interest of the entire county. And it's my belief that the vast majority of my colleagues have that in mind. Now, we don't always agree on every issue. That's never going to happen. But we can always and always must be respectful of one another. And I think that's an issue that we're trying to work through now. And you remember me earlier on when I talked about when Shirley Franklin and I ran against each other. We were friends before that race. We were friends during the race, and we continue to be friends today. So you can work together, you can have different opinions on issues, but there's a question of respect, just common courtesy, common decency. And listen, in my years, I've served with some interesting boys and girls, so to speak. And but this is an interesting group that we're working with. But it's here.
I would say that I've been there. This is the end of my 8th year, second term, and this last year has been the most volatile and toxic that I've ever seen it. I never saw anything like this prior to this year. And so it has been good for 7 out of 8 years. But I think as Chairman Pitts said, there are at least 6 of us that know how to work well with others.
Thank you. And I appreciate that. Let me ask a question. This comes from Facebook. What role can the county play in securing funding to improve the safety on South Fulton Parkway? I'm gonna let Chairman Pitts answer that, and he can send it back over to Commissioner Arrington.
So when you say the safety of South Fulton Parkway, you talking about public safety? Well, again, like you said, now our police, when you say public safety, I'm assuming you're talking about police. And we only have those less than 40 officers who take care of our airport, that little small part of the county, and our building. So that's not really our responsibility. However, our Chief Yates, is always available to work with and support what the other jurisdictions are doing and what they need. And our sheriff, he's also always available to assist wherever he can. But the primary responsibility from a policing point of view, it lies and rests with the police chiefs and police departments of each city. Would you agree with Commissioner Arrington?
Yeah, no, absolutely. And the only thing that I know is that there was talk of MARTA expansion and maybe a BRT on South Fulton Parkway. I don't know that really addresses the safety issue. It maybe address traffic safety to some extent. But frankly, I don't know, that may actually add more traffic safety issues. But certainly I know there's a lot of fast traffic moving on South Fulton Parkway, and it does go through several jurisdictions, including Union City and City of South Fulton. So again, I think Chairman Pitts said our police chief, Yates, and our sheriff are both willing to help and support any of the individual jurisdictions as it relates not only to South Fulton Parkway, but throughout Fulton County.
Thank you. Let me ask you, this is for Commissioner Marvin Arrington, because you have taken on some more folks. You my commissioner now. And so we have had some conversations, and I look forward to working with you. You have assured me that I have your ear for the community. It's not about me, it's for the community. Tell me, what can you do to bring more a better quality of living, I'd say, or better resources to District 5, because you're gonna be doing District 5, right? So you got all the way from East Point, you got some of East Point, you got some of College Park, you got some of city, you got just about all the city of Southwood, you got some of Atlanta, you got Chattahoochee Hills, Palmetto, Fairburn, and Union City, some of Union City. Is that correct? That's a lot of folks. What are your plans for us out here?
Well, I think we've got to do more economic development. The great thing is we have all the land, right? The South Fulton is rich with land, and there are a lot of opportunities. But I think, one of the main things we have to do is we have to have a little bit more planning. And one of the problems I've seen is we have these, and it's so funny because they call them consolidated land use plans, right? Mm-hmm. But they're only consolidated within each city. And so that's why you have Union City putting warehouses right next to homes in the city of South Fulton, because the Union City plan calls for warehouses, but there's no coordination between City of South Fulton and Union City on their consolidated plans. So the plans aren't even really consolidated. And so we've got to have more talks around future land use, but economic development is the key. I met this past Saturday with a gentleman that has a film studio in Gwinnett County where he's renting the space. He's looking at purchasing 6 acres in the city of South Fulton to relocate his film studio. And so opportunities like that, and the city of South Fulton and I guess in like a lot of other places, but most of the people I know, they aren't really looking for jobs. They're looking for opportunities and they're looking for access to capital. And so we've got to make access to capital more readily available. I think that is really the key. I just saw something the other day where there's, $97 billion a year, and less than 1/2 or 1% of that is going to minorities. We've got to try to get more access to capital. We've got to educate ourselves and our community on the ways to get access to that capital, so that we can have, again, more economic development opportunities. I think, one of the things that we're doing, proud to say that I led the effort, we bought 5 or 6 hotels on Fulton Industrial Boulevard. Number one, to stop the sex trafficking, or at least displace it. I don't know that we can stop it, but we can displace it from Fulton Industrial Boulevard. So, we bought 5 hotels, we bought a restaurant and a gas station, and we're hoping that we can do some veterans housing, some affordable housing, homeless housing, and give people an opportunity where they can live, work, and play right there in one area. But by making a $30 million investment into the Fulton Industrial Boulevard, so look, we spent $30 million on hotels. Chairman Pitts just told you about the animal hospital. We spent another $35 million on that. We're spending $100 million at the airport for expansion there. And so we are investing the county money and the county resources to make the area better, to make South Fulton better. Unfortunately, it takes time to get a lot of these things done. And so I think we are taking steps in the right direction. I think for the most part, we have a good crew in place to help us get there. And, I'm excited about the future, not only for Fulton County, but for South Fulton. I'll tell you a brief story. I started a reparations task force for Fulton County. Yesterday, one of our representatives, the vice president of the reparations task force, was able to travel to California for the return of the deed to Bruce's Beach from LA County to the Black family that it was stolen from.
Wow.
And so we are looking to find, or hopeful that we'll find opportunities like that. We just found out about one of Macedonia Park in Buckhead. Buckhead was Black. And Fulton County went in 1945 and took land from the Black landowners under the guise of water quality issues. And so hopefully we'll be able to have some additional economic opportunities, again, not only for all of Fulton County, but specifically for South Fulton and District 5.
Thank you. And I'm going to speak.
May I add a little
come
bit?
Come on, Chair.
Yeah, because this is the heart of the matter here. You hear a lot of naysayers criticizing Fulton County government, and we're doing.
Come on, say it.
I'm saying that we do more for white folk in North County than we do for Black people in South County. That's just pure BS. You hear me everywhere I go. Fulton County, the future of Fulton County is South Fulton County. North County is pretty much built out. So the future is going to be in the southern part of Fulton County, and more specifically, the city of South Fulton has an opportunity like probably no other city in the country has, if it's managed properly. Now, what do I mean by that? 2 or 3 things that are happening that I am passionate about. Commissioner Arrington mentioned the airport. That $100 million we're putting in that airport, that is a project that I am passionate about, that is going to rival on a much smaller scale, obviously, Hartsfield, Jackson, Atlanta International Airport, but we will surpass Peachtree DeKalb, PDK, based upon what we're doing. And you'll be able to go, when we're done, to leave that airport and fly directly to Europe. And that'll be huge for the southern part of the county. The hospital, there is going to be at some point, and we're working on this, Commissioner Arrington and I are working together on this, to replace with Wellstar pretty much leaving, because there is a definite need for a first-class medical facility in South Fulton County. So we're working on that. A lot of the things that we're working on, you can't talk publicly about until, because you'll blow the deal. So there are conversations taking place, and I'm very, very optimistic. Commissioner Arrington mentioned transportation, Roosevelt Highway, Camp Creek Parkway. Those are corridors that once developed will be the key to economic development on the South Side. There's a pilot program that I'm working on now. If we're able to, and not if, we are going to do a pilot program on the South Side. It's just a question of which city that will put this, what's called a PRT, Personal Rapid Transit Vehicle. There are only 2 cities in the world that have this now. And just think about that. If a city in South Fulton County becomes the 3rd city in the world, think about what that would mean to South Fulton County. People from all over the world coming here, first of all, to see this project and this pilot program, and that puts South Fulton County on the map.
Okay.
One more point. The other thing that's most important for economic development is infrastructure. Infrastructure, water and sewer. It all begins with that. The water, that's the city of Atlanta, and I think East Point has a role to play in water. But Fulton County's role is a sewer system. If we are able, and we are going to, build a sewer system from Hapeville down to Chat Hills, that's what real estate developers look for. That's what these major corporations look for. Is sewer in place so they can tie into it? We have and are spending $500 billion with a B, $500 billion for sewers in South Fulton County. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the key. It's not sexy. Now the airport is going to be a sexy project, something you can look at and touch and feel good about it. But this sewer stuff, that $500 billion, when people tell you the nonsense about, well, y'all are doing more for white people in North Fulton than you are doing it for black people in South Fulton County, that's pure nonsense. This is $500 billion right there that will be the key to economic growth and development in South Fulton County.
So let me ask you, Commissioner Pitts, you said something about the sewer. Will it be something like the sewer plant that I had the opportunity to tour up in North Fulton? And if anybody that took that academy, that was very interesting.
You talking about the new state-of-the-art facility?
Yes.
That's one. Everybody should have a chance to go up there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to see what I'm talking about. That's exactly what we're talking about.
Okay, thanks on that.
$500 billion, South Fulton County. Not a million, not 1,000, billion. Okay.
It's let's just talk it, and I'm staying on South Fulton because this is where I live, and I know that North Fulton, but I'm talking about South Fulton. Mm-hmm. And I had raised a question with you about opening a senior center in the city of South Fulton. Mm-hmm. Is that still on the table?
It absolutely is. We're a factor on there. We have the 4 that we have now, state of the art. We're the envy of every other county in the United States of America. How do y'all do that? Why do you do it? It always comes up, man. These are like living at the Ritz-Carlton, some of these places, or the St. Regis. We take pride in those 4 multi-purpose centers that we have, but we need more. And right now there are plans for 2 more, one in South County, one in North County. The site that we think is the most ideal site is the site right across from the, what's the site there, right there?
South Fulton Annex?
South Fulton Annex, that's correct. So we have a preliminary design for that already, and now we're looking at the, at funding for it. North County, we have a building that we own at 4700 North Point Parkway that will be converted to one. So those 2 are still in play, but in addition to the one in South County, in addition to being a multi-purpose center, There will also be other offices and departments housed in that facility for services that the citizens in South Fulton County will have access to. So I'm very, very excited about that. I believe that is in Council Member Willis's district, and I've talked with her about it, and she's excited about it. So just right now, again, preliminary plans have been made from the design point of view, and I'm trying to figure out how we're going to pay for it.
Now, let me ask you questions because you know, I always have to say this, the street committee.
Mhm.
The street committee was saying, well, why can't it be over in the Wolf Creek area? Why can't it be over in this area? But when I did a little research, and you can tell me if I'm wrong, because my research is wrong. The senior centers, you want them kind of located where the bus stops is at. Is that correct?
That's part of it.
Okay. Tell me to go from there.
So the study, and don't hold me to the numbers, but within a 10, that was the low. First of all, we own the land, which means that that off the top reduces the total cost of it. The fact that we own that piece of land, that's number one. Number two, the study that was done within a 10-mile radius, that's where many people will have access to that facility right there. Now, if there's another site in South Fulton County that's more appropriate, then maybe that's a possibility. But for now, the site that we own, which will really impact the overall cost. So that's why we're focusing in on that site now.
Okay. Well, thanks. Have you? Let's talk about these retention ponds. That was another big issue, and that was one of the emails that I sent you guys. In my subdivision, we have retention ponds. And when the developer turned the subdivision over, we take care of those retention ponds. Now, some subdivisions that have retention ponds, I don't know what their clause was, and I can't say that, but it was some retention ponds that the county was taking care of. And the county just stopped taking care of those retention ponds. What are you going to do about those retention ponds?
Well, you brought the detention pond.
Detention ponds. I'm sorry, detention pond.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's been an issue that's out there, and then some of this. Well, we've been discussing this behind closed doors, but in fact, I had a conversation with Council Member Catherine Rowell about that in particular, and she outlined some 12 or 13 issues that she was concerned about it and wanted a definitive answer from the county, and that's one of it. But based upon our research and based upon quite a bit of research that our county attorney has done, I mean, the conclusion is that the county is no longer responsible for stormwater management within incorporated areas, which includes the city of South Fulton. Now, there was a notion that, well, a one-time cleanup. I mean, that issue has come up about a one-time cleanup, which is not a lot of money to do that. But long-term, after that one-time cleanup, if we were to do that, the county attorney has simply opined, and correctly opined in my judgment, that those detention ponds are no longer, once a place has been incorporated, no longer the responsibility of the county. So the various transfers that have to take place will have to be worked out and negotiated, and that's where we are on those. Now, I can also say this, that the board is not necessarily a one opinion with respect to these detention ponds, but in the final analysis, I mean, it's the opinion of the county attorney that normally will prevail, because what we don't want to do is open ourselves up to some liabilities based upon treating one part of the county different than the way we treat or treated another part of the county. So it's
Absolutely.
a complicated issue, but the bottom line is they're no longer our responsibility based upon the opinion of our county attorney.
Okay, and thank you. What I tell Commissioner Pitts, what I tell people is, and me being an HOA president for 13 years and try to do the best that I did the best. What I tell HOA presidents is if their subdivision has not been turned over from the developer, make sure before your subdivision be turned over, you make sure everything that developer said he was going to do or she going to do it. Because once you guys sign the paper and it turn over, then they're not obligated to do anything. So if you have the detention ponds in your community or your sidewalks is not finished, make sure that the developer do all of that before it's turned over, because once it's turned over, is nothing you can do. And we sometimes have people that think they know, but really don't know. And I can honestly say that the 13 years that I was the president, we had a legal team that made sure that we did everything according to those books. And we had documents because, again, once you turn over from, I'm just saying, from Pitt's developer, once Pitt signed that paper saying he's through. So the associations, they take on that burden now. And the detention ponds is very expensive to clean up, and you have to follow the guidelines. So thank you for clearing that up.
I wish Commissioner Arrington here, because on these homeowners.
Yes, he's coming back. Yes, because his phone died, but he's coming back.
Did you hear that, Commissioner Arrington, about detention ponds? Well, actually, I answered that about where we are, that we're not necessarily one in court, but we also, Ms. Chatman mentioned homeowners associations, and they have a responsibility to review all of these documents before signing off. And I was about to say that if anybody's an expert in that, it's you. So you might want to comment on them.
Yeah, so sorry about that. My other phone died. Glad to be back on. Yes, I think, a lot of these detention ponds are primarily the responsibility of the HOA.
Absolutely.
My understanding is that Fulton County has an emergency easement for water and sewer purposes on these detention ponds. So these are not detention ponds that are owned and or maintained by the county, but the county has the ability to come in and service or treat them or repair them in emergency situations. And so I believe that we have our staff going out to determine if there are, in fact, any emergency situations that exist that would give us the right and the authority. Because again, frankly, the county cannot operate inside a city absent an IGA with that city. And so if the county takes action inside of a city absent an IGA, then that creates liability for the county. And certainly we try to work well with all of our cities and city governments and obviously the constituents and the citizens as well. But the HOAs are, one of my passion points. I created a nonprofit, the HOA Alliance, to try to help educate homeowners about their rights and obligations when living in HOAs. HOA Clubhouse, I remember a couple years back, Council member Helen Willis's clubhouse was on the blocks for sale because the HOA had not paid the taxes. And so those are the type of situations that we have to be mindful of and make sure that we educate ourselves.
Absolutely.
The example I had, and I know everyone's example is different. In my subdivision, John Whelan had not maintained our retention and detention ponds for over 20 years. We had trees as high as Stone Mountain growing in our retention and detention ponds. And what we did, Mr. Driscoll called code enforcement, had them come out and cite the HOA, the association, and then we used that ticket from code enforcement, sent it to John Whelan, and used that to get them to pay to have the retention and detention ponds cleaned. And again, I know everyone's situation is different, but that is just one example of something that can be done in that regard.
Thank you. Joe, you want to ask some tough questions? Come on, since you're back. You want to ask some tough questions?
I do apologize. Ministry had called, so I had to step away for that for a reason. But gentlemen, let me just reiterate, if it hadn't already been said, thank you for joining us and taking this time out of your schedule to share with us the things that are going on in the city of South Fulton, or in Fulton County. But when I left, I know we were talking about, that the city of South Fulton itself did not have to fight or struggle for, some of the things as the northern cities in Fulton County had to do so by going to, the state legislature to get these things done. But, and I know you kind of touched bases on it, but I want to kind of piggyback on that. And you said it yourself, Commissioner Arrington, you said, let's dispel the myth that, those northern counties, or northern cities, don't outweigh the, the below I-20 areas with amenities. But how do we help the regular citizen or the everyday citizen, me, you, everybody, to better understand that? And again, you shared that, but there is an unrealistic thought that everything above I-20 in Fulton County, looks better, it feels better, it walks better, it's community driven, as opposed to the things on the south side. Now, listen, no offense to you, Commissioner Arrington, but I'm a Watch the High Bulldog, so you keep that Douglas Astro stuff over there. You keep that stuff over there. But what I know is that our communities thrive and they do very well, and I've seen it happen. But there are a lot of people just in the city who just don't believe or don't see the programs working for them. And I know they do. I see it working for seniors. I see it working for, some teens. But what is it that, I guess the question that I'm getting at is, what is it that you all as commissioners can do, or the commission can do, to reassure the citizens of Fulton County, to let them know that Fulton County is open and it's for business, and that we're really taking care of the people that dwell inside of Fulton County? Because I think that's an ongoing, inquiry that people have. Sometimes they just don't feel like they're being heard, or that their communities are being sought after.
So you want me to start, Commissioner?
Go ahead, go right ahead.
I think it starts with programs like this. And I think that there is a responsibility on the part of informed citizens who know the truth, who take the time to understand and to understand the issues. When you hear stupid stuff being said by people with hidden agendas or political agendas, or just talking loud and saying nothing, I think you have a responsibility to learn the facts, and you do, and to shut that noise down, because it hurts all of us. I mean, you have people running around saying how you brought this up.
You come on.
Yeah, that you brought this up about the Board of Commissioners is full of crooks, and the mayor's office is full of crooks. That's who you talking about? You talking about me? If you have something on me, go to the Attorney General. Yeah. Go to the U.S. Attorney's office and tell them what you have. You talking about Marvin Arrington? You talking about Mayor Dickens? Who are you talking about? And then they say all our employees are crooks on the table. Well, that's just pure BS. And that, number one, it hurts our brand.
Absolutely.
People who are in the know making stupid statements like that, and it has a negative impact on our hardworking 5,000 hardworking employees. So my point is, people who are in the know, like y'all are in the know, and there are others out there, the political leaders in the city of South Fulton, the informed ones, they know what's going on. They need to help us tell our story.
Thank you.
Fulton County, one other point, and I'll defer to Commissioner.
Okay.
Fulton County is one of the top counties in the United States of America. There are 3,000 plus counties, and you live in one of the top counties in the United States of America.
Say it again. Say it one more time. Say it one more time.
Fulton County is one of the top counties in the United States of America. There's some 3,000 plus. And I'll fight anybody when they start talking bad mouth in Fulton County. I know what we do. I know how hard we work. Most of us on the Board of Commissioners. Commissioner Arrington talked about our county manager, the team that he's put together. Primarily minorities, primarily Black. We do a great job for our citizens. We take pride in what we do. And I'm not going to put up a stand with anybody criticizing Fulton County.
Put up or shut up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Right.
And before we get to Commissioner Arrington, thank you for saying that. First, I want to thank Commissioner Arrington and the Chairman Pitts, because I was one of their worst nightmares and critics.
That's true. That's true.
I'm just going to
Arrington, but I can speak for me.
That's true.
No, not Damita, Chatman.
And I'm gonna say it openly. I want to thank Commissioner Marvin for taking my call, hearing what I had to say about the city of South Fulton, because I never would have dreamed we would be sitting at the table together. I can do everything, anything but fail. And when I spoke to Commissioner Arrington and Chairman Pitts, they agreed to sit with me on a quarterly basis to bring the information back to the people. Again, I say, a lie will go to the corner. I mean, the truth will go to a corner, but the lie will go around the world. And we have folks that look like us on hidden agenda, wolves in sheep clothing, and we have to start holding these folks accountable and calling them out, because if not, they will destroy us. And when you can go, just say my hometown, this is what they say. What in the world is going on down there? They don't say Fulton County. They say, what in the world is going on down in Fulton County? Embarrassing. So we have to call a spade and call them out. Commissioner Arrington, this is what I want to ask you. When the lines was drawn, I remember how they did the late Commissioner Emma Darnell and the former Commissioner Bill Edwards. They put them against each other to split the votes up. And this is just my opinion. I think that's what happened when they wanted to split you up. Tell me, because some folks say that we had representatives and commissioners going to ask folks to draw the maps, and they say it was a lie. You tell us.
I'm happy to speak on this topic. The commissioners voted unanimously 7-0 to adopt the map. A week later, one of the commissioners got with one of the Democratic state representatives, a Democratic commissioner and a Democratic state representative, went and circumvented the entire Democratic delegation and worked with the Republicans to redraw the map of Fulton County. They did that, and frankly, I think it disenfranchised hundreds of thousands of voters. My father was in my district. My sister was in my district. Those voters and others were disenfranchised because they no longer had the opportunity to vote for the commissioner of their choice. And so, every 10 years, the lines are redrawn automatically to make sure that the districts have similar population size. And so you know that there's going to be a redrawing of the maps. You just don't know how it's going to be redrawn. I'll tell you this as well. There are 159 counties in the state of Georgia. Only 2 of those counties' maps were not drawn by local legislation of the local delegation.
Could you tell us the counties?
Fulton County and Cobb County. And in Cobb County, they drew the young Black lady, Jerica Richardson, drew her out of her district altogether.
Yes, they did.
So she won't even have a spot. She won't even have a place available because they put her in someone else's district. I guess she can run against that person, but
That's their
the
goal.
term isn't even up. Her term isn't even up, which is also against the law. That once you get elected, they can't shorten your term nor remove your office.
Right.
And so I imagine that there would likely be some legal challenges, but think about that. 157 of 159 counties all adopted their map by local legislation. And in Fulton County, the Democrats control the Democratic delegation. Okay? Which means the Democrats had a chance to draw the map. The state legislature is controlled by the Republicans. So they were chomping at the bits at an opportunity to redraw the map for Fulton County after Fulton County and DeKalb County delivered Warnock and Ossaw. And so the idea that you would have two Democrats, excuse me, that would allow themselves to be used as tools of the Republican Party is amazing.
Wow.
And disappointing.
Yes, thank you. Joe, you want to say something? Because I want to talk about that local option sales tax.
Well, I just wanted to, I don't know if
you
can chime in on this, but we're coming into our primary election, our general election come this fall. And when gentlemen, there's nothing I love more than running numbers and polls and reading that stuff on a regular basis. It's a joy to me. But when we look back, and we did a whole show here on WCEG about this, we look back at the numbers in the primary election on the Republican side of the House and on the Democratic side of the House. Numbers don't lie, and
they don't lie.
On the Republican tickets, all the numbers were soaring above 1.1 and 1.2 million people who had voted on the Republican primary ticket. Whereas on the Democratic primary, you had roughly 850,000 or less that voted in the Democratic primary. Now, of course, the question is always looming: where's how do we combat voter apathy? How do we get the voter, the educated voter out to vote? How do you all see being able to energize voters? I don't know that you all are really asked. Of course, you're county commissioner, so you're over that. But how often are you encouraged or pushed or prodded about energizing the base, and whatever that base may be, whatever your political party, that doesn't matter to me. But how do we get people out to vote? How do we do that? How does the county push people? And I know, Commissioner Arrington talked about, the minimalization of boxes and precincts and so on and so forth. But those are things that we know that are always a challenge. But how do we combat those challenges and making sure that people are able to vote and that they are in some way, shape, form, or fashion excited about doing that?
Well, I mean, one of the things that we've done, so SB 202 prevented us from allowing mobile voting. We had 2 or 3 mobile vehicles that were going around and people could vote in mobile locations. Well, now, because of SB 202, we can't have that mobile voting.
Yeah.
But we're still doing mobile voter registration. Mm-hmm. And so one of the things that we need to do, particularly right now, we've got to mobilize and energize people like never before.
Right.
Absolutely.
And one of the things I think we got to do is look at trying to get as many high school students registered, right? Because these elections are not really decided. These statewide and national elections are not really decided by the Democrats versus Republicans. These elections are decided by the undecideds.
That's exactly.
Those that have been left out, those that don't feel like they should participate. And so those are the people that we've got to reach, and we've got to make those people understand that they have to, that they are the difference, and that they are the ones that actually can control the outcome.
Okay.
I agree.
I agree with you. Let me ask you a question, because since we on this topic, and it got so heated down there at the commissioners' meetings, and I remember watching one commission meeting about somebody being appointed to a board. I don't have to call their name. I think this is me now, a very upstanding citizen, community person, but I think they were used as a pawn in this election. If that appointment would come back up again, because I don't think you or whoever should tell somebody who they appoint, but if that appointment came up again, how would y'all feel about rethinking that?
I'm trying to remember which appointment.
It was I think
I'll help you out. I'll help you out.
Authority. Something about authority.
So I think
Fulton County Authority Board.
So the first lesson that I learned, and that any commissioner has to learn, is that you need 4 votes to get anything accomplished, to get the commission to act.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And if people always say don't burn bridges, right? Because you never know when you might have to go back across it.
There you go.
What happens when you burn bridges, you get stuck on an island.
Mm-hmm.
and there's no way back to the mainland.
Mm-hmm.
And so I don't think that the issue was the person being nominated as much as the person who was doing the nominating doesn't know how to get 4 votes.
Absolutely.
Okay, now I'm with you. Okay.
Okay, and let me say this, Commissioner Arrington, you're absolutely right. An old man told me by Mr. Rainey when I was on the board of directors. He said, when you go into any meeting, you make sure that you get majority of your votes, because if you go in there fighting, you're not going to get your votes. So I totally agree with you when that vote came up, because I think the person was well overqualified and can do it. But what happened was you had someone that had, can I just say it the way Damita want to say it, pissed everybody off. And when you pissed them off, you wanted to come back and say, now I want you to make this, give me 4 votes. And they just said, how can we, I'm just saying, you didn't say this now, I'm just saying what I thought you said. How can we come in and do a vote for you when you just pissed all over us? So we have to be careful. And if that name come up again, I think that would be a great person. And I'm not saying because I know him, I worked closely, that would be a great person. But I think they got caught up into the political game. Not only did they get caught up, other folks got caught up in the political game. Sometimes we got to know who we know. Thank you so much. Go on, Joe, give him a question, because we're going to be wrapping this thing up soon.
No, I honestly, I don't have a question. I know that we're down, to the wire of the show, but I wanted to ask you guys if you could, Chairman Pitt, you did a fantastic job early in the show of outlining what the commission, what the county takes care of. But I guess now, and I might have missed it in the time that I've been away, I don't know if this was asked, but inform the people what a commissioner does. Because we go back and forth about city versus county. We go back and forth about what a city council member does, what a state legislator does. And some people, they see commission. And let's just be honest, people get out there and vote because they see it's an opportunity. They say, well, we got to have a commissioner. I know Marvin Arrington, I know Robb Pitt, so let me get out here and vote for them. But more often than never, people just don't quite understand your role and what your job does to take care of the business, the needs of the county. So
I'll start with my role as chairman, and Commissioner Arrington can talk about his role as a member of the commission. First of all, there are 7 members of the Fulton County Commission. 6 of the members are elected from districts, and only the people within those districts vote for that particular commissioner. As I said earlier, even though you're elected that way, you still have responsibility for the entire county, all 1,200,000 people. And that's hard for a lot of particularly new people to understand, that even though you're elected by a very small group within your district, you're responsible for 1,200,000 people. In my case, as chair, I run countywide. I can live anywhere in the county, but I have to run countywide, which means that everybody in the county can vote for me or vote, in some cases, vote against me. But what does the chair do? Well, first and foremost, it is my role to run the meetings in as efficient manner as possible, to maintain the decorum, to make sure that we abide by our rules and regulations, to make sure to the extent that's possible that we're courteous. And that means sometimes, having to say to people, okay, we need to calm down. You're going a little too far now. I may walk over and, pat somebody on.
Well, I feel like he's talking about you, Marvin. You over there smiling.
I plead the fifth.
It's not just Commissioner Arrington, but I mean, people are passionate about certain things, and when you're passionate, that energy is going to, it's going to present itself. And so, but there I am. In fact, so that's my primary role, maintaining the decorum and try to keep us on track.
Okay.
But, unlike some, though, I have the opportunity to vote on every issue. So I have to be up to speed. Now, some commissioners are only concerned about things that go on in their particular districts, which is, I think you're doing a disservice. That's why I say that some people are best suited to be on city councils rather than on a county commission.
Well, I brought this question up, yes.
So that's what my job is. And my job also, though, entails having a good command of Robert's Rules of Order and our own rules, and I pride myself on that. If I make a ruling, and I say, well, if you disagree with this ruling, you have the opportunity, the right to overturn my ruling, and that's never happened to me. Not only did it never happen when I was president of the city council, but it hasn't happened since I've been chair of the board of commissioners. But you have to be fair. You have to listen to everybody, whether you agree with them or disagree with them, because again, to Commissioner Arrington's point, when you're trying to get a piece of legislation passed, I don't care whether they're all Democrats supporting with me or all Republicans supporting me or a combination. The idea is to get your legislation passed that's going to benefit the citizens that you serve. So it's pretty straightforward and pretty simple.
Thank you. We down to 10 minutes, but before we get to Commissioner Arrington, someone just sent a question in asking about there's a need for telecommunication towers, and I guess that's I'm saying maybe they're talking about the city of South Fulton. Could you let me see? They just sent it to my phone. What happened to the telecommunication cell towers that the county promised to install on South Fulton Parkway. And
I'm unfamiliar with telecommunications towers for South Fulton Parkway, nor any promise by the county. Frankly, it would be difficult for the county to promise something and not do it, because for the county to take action, there has to be 4 commissioners that sign on. And so once you have 4 commissioners sign on to something, the staff is to implement it. So it would be virtually impossible for the county to promise something and not deliver on it.
Yeah.
The staff has to do what the board has voted on.
okay,
And it's speaking to our role as commissioners.
thank you.
Basically, we collect about $1 billion a year in tax dollars from property taxes, motor vehicle registrations, fines, court fines, and the like. And as commissioners, we are responsible for prioritizing and allocating that $1 billion of citizens' tax revenue. Our jail costs about $100 million. The courts cost about $100 million. And so we have to allocate those resources that we have for, as Chairman Pitt said, our libraries, our elections, jails, court, the sheriff, the DA, the solicitor, the marshal's office, and the like. So our role is to prioritize the use of your tax dollars.
Damita, I'm sorry, and Commissioner Arrington, I'm sorry to butt in, and I should have asked this earlier, but when you brought it up, it just came to mind. Of the roughly, I'm just ballparking it here, $100 million that it takes to run the Fulton County Jail, how many more $100 millions will it cost to build a new one?
I'll see your question and raise you one. How much more will it cost us if we got 100 lawsuits from inmates dying?
Oh, wow.
All right.
So I hear your point, and your point is well taken.
Right.
But sometimes we may not necessarily look at. Right.
Okay.
Sorry, I had a call coming in, but yeah. So it's going to cost a lot of money to build a new jail. Right now, we got people sleeping on the jail floor, and I'm so upset with that, and I don't know what to do. Just because they're in jail doesn't mean that they shouldn't be treated humanely.
Amen.
For me, part of being treated humanely is making sure you have a bed to sleep on.
Amen. Let me say this, and we're gonna let you guys close. I want you come back in 6 months and give us an update, and that'll give Chairman Pitts, that'll give Commissioner Marvin Aaron to come and fight with me and hear all the other folks with their concerns. 6 months.
Okay.
But before I go, let me say this to you, Commissioner Pitts, and Commissioner Chairman Pitts. I want to thank you for being professional through this last election.
Thank you.
Because it was terrible. And it blows my mind that we have elected officials that have folks doing their dirty work, and folks that don't live in our city. Is unacceptable. I would love to see that when I come down to speak to you guys, if you don't have a Fulton County address, nobody from Stonecrest, DeKalb County can speak and hold you guys hostage for their foolishness. I want to thank you guys so much. I'm going to be out here. I'm going to hold you accountable when you're doing good. I'm going to talk about you, and when you mess up, I'm going to call you out.
Yes, sure. I appreciate that.
I'm going to a closing statement from my chair, thank you, because I know he was supposed to be off, but I think it got so good that he just forgot he was going to leave. Chairman Pitts, give me a minute and a half in your closing statement.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me and my colleague on the show. It's an opportunity for us to speak directly to the residents, particularly of South Fulton County. But you know, your audience is wide, and people need to understand and to know what we talked about. These are very important issues. We're coming into the budget season now, and by the way, that's 6 months. Let's make that like the 1st of February, which would be after we have approved next year.
There you go.
Which would be
I tell you what, the first show in February, you and Commissioner Arrington, and I would invite the other ones. And I'm going to say other ones was invited, but you and Commissioner Marvin was the only one accepted. Come on.
Well, so I just like to thank you for this opportunity, you know, to be open with you, people who you know, supported me and those who didn't support me. I want to earn everybody's support, but we got to understand is that there's only so much money, and there's always more demands out there than there is money to fulfill those demands. So I've never seen a bad program in my 40+ years as an elected official, but it always comes down to though how you gonna pay for it, and that means you picking and choosing. That's what Commissioner Arrington said earlier. So again, thank you for having me this evening, and look forward to being with you in February.
Thank you, Commissioner Arrington.
Thank you so much. I again honored to have the opportunity to be here tonight to represent the citizens of Fulton County and particularly District 5. Honored to be able to have the opportunity to continue that service for another 4 years. And, you know, I'm just blessed. You know, it is a great position to be in. It's an opportunity to serve. My parents raised me in a spirit of service. I was always taught that to whom much is given, much is expected. And frankly, I was happily surprised. But the voters really came through and really did a resounding show of support, or a resounding kickback of toxicity and wickedness. Right? They went after. I believe the voters supported, were very informed, and made good decisions without listening to, as Chairman Pitts said, the people that were talking loud and saying nothing. The way to get, you know, I live by one quote, and I'll leave it with this. No one can help everyone, but everyone can help someone.
I love that. Again, I want to thank you guys for coming. I want to thank my host, Joe Flint and Norm Carter that had to leave. I want to thank Chairman Pitts for coming, Marvin Arrington. Thank you guys for coming. And it's about the community with me and doing the right thing. You can get this on YouTube, and it's yours to share and do whatever you want after it's uploaded. Again, I want to thank you so much for coming. Good night. And we'll talk later. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.